When my sister packed her bags and walked out on me, she didn't even look back. I stood by the door, holding my newborn baby, still weak from giving birth, and I whispered, "Please, don't go." But she kept walking. That was the day my heart cracked quietly inside my chest. She was all the family I had left, my sister, Emily. We'd promised each other, when we were just girls, that we'd never let anything come between us. But life has a way of testing promises. When our parents passed away, Emily and I only had each other. She was the brave one, the loud one, the one who believed the world would bend to her dreams. I was quieter, softer, always trying to keep peace. So when I found myself broke, with a baby and no husband, I thought she would be there. I truly did. But that day, she chose to leave. And I told myself I would never forgive her. Yet years later, when life turned the tables, she came back, fragile, alone, and holding a letter that changed everything. I never imagined the day I would choose forgiveness, but sometimes, love surprises even the ones who have stopped believing in it. Hello, my dear friends. My name is Grandma Evelyn, and this is the story of my sister, and how life taught me that forgiveness is sometimes stronger than pain. Thank you for listening to my story today. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next stories from my heart. And tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? If you've ever had someone hurt you deeply but still found the courage to forgive, I'd love to hear your story too. Emily and I grew up in a small town with dusty streets and kind neighbors who always knew what was going on in everyone's life. Our house was old but full of laughter. Mama used to hum while hanging laundry, and Daddy smelled like sawdust and paint. He was a carpenter. We weren't rich, but we had love. That was enough. Emily was 2 years older than me, but she liked to act like my mother. "Come on, Evie," she'd say when we were kids, "don't cry. I'll take care of you." And she did. When Daddy died suddenly, it was Emily who held my hand at the funeral. When Mama got sick, it was Emily who ran to get the doctor. We went through everything together, loss, hunger, and dreams. But after Mama passed, Emily started to change. She wanted more than our small town could give. "I'm tired of being poor," she told me one night as we sat on the porch. "I'm going to the city. I'll find a good job, maybe meet someone. You'll see, things will get better." I smiled through my worry. "What about me?" She laughed softly. "You'll come later. Once I'm settled." And she kept her promise, for a while. She found a job as a receptionist and even sent money home. I was proud of her. Then I met Mark, a quiet mechanic who used to help fix Daddy's old tools. He was kind, gentle, and had the same warm eyes as our father. We fell in love and married in a small ceremony behind the church. Emily came home for the wedding. She looked beautiful, confident, dressed in city clothes, wearing perfume that smelled like success. When she hugged me, she whispered, "Don't let anyone stop you from dreaming, Evie. Promise me." I promised. For a while, life was peaceful. Mark and I worked hard. But just as we started to build something together, tragedy came again. Mark died in a car accident on a rainy evening, the kind of accident that makes the world stop spinning for a while. I was 3 months pregnant. Emily came to the funeral, but she looked distant, distracted. She stayed only one night and left the next morning. After that, her letters stopped coming. Those first months after Mark's death were the hardest of my life. The baby, the bills, the loneliness, everything felt like too much. Sometimes I would sit on the porch at night, staring at the road, hoping Emily's car would appear. But it never did. When my daughter, Grace, was born, I sent Emily a letter. I wrote, "She has your smile, Em. You'd love her." The letter came back unopened. Maybe she'd moved. Maybe she didn't care. I didn't know. I worked cleaning houses and sewing clothes for neighbors. Every cent went to milk, rent, and medicine. Grace grew up with hand-me-down clothes but the brightest eyes I'd ever seen. She would ask me, "Mama, where's Aunt Emily?" And I would always say, "She's far away, sweetheart. But maybe one day she'll come." I didn't realize that by saying that, I was still holding hope, the one thing I thought I'd buried. Years passed. Grace turned 8. I grew stronger, wiser, but also harder inside. Then one evening, when I came home from work, I found an envelope under my door. No name, just my address. Inside was a folded piece of paper with 5 words. "I'm sorry. I need you." The handwriting was unmistakable. It was Emily's. My heart pounded as I read it again and again. After all these years, why now? The next morning, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, Emily was standing there. Thin, pale, wearing a coat far too big for her small frame. Her eyes were sunken but still familiar. For a moment, I couldn't move. I just stared. Finally, I whispered, "Emily." She nodded slowly. "It's me, Evie." Grace peeked from behind my leg, wide-eyed. "This is your Aunt Emily," I said softly. Emily bent down, tears filling her eyes. "You look just like your mama." I didn't know what to feel, anger, relief, confusion, love. They all mixed inside me. She asked quietly, "Can I come in?" I hesitated. Then I stepped aside. "Come in." Inside the small living room, she looked around, noticing every detail. "You kept Mama's rocking chair," she said. I nodded. "Some things are worth keeping." We sat in silence for a while. Grace played quietly with her doll. Finally, I asked, "Why now, Emily? Why after all this time?" Her voice cracked. "Because I have nowhere else to go." She told me she had lost her job months ago. The man she lived with had left her, taking everything, even her savings. She'd been staying in a shelter until she could afford a bus ticket home. "I know I don't deserve your help," she said. But I didn't know where else to turn. Something in me softened, the part that remembered her laughter, the sister who used to braid my hair, the girl who promised she'd always take care of me. Still, pain has a long memory. I said quietly, "You left me when I needed you most." Her shoulders trembled. "I know." Tears rolled down her face. "And I'll regret that for the rest of my life." For the first time in years, I cried too. Not from anger, but from all the love and hurt I'd held inside for so long. I gave her the small guest room. Grace was thrilled to have an aunt around. She followed Emily everywhere, asking questions, showing her drawings. But for me, forgiveness didn't come easily. Some nights I lay awake, listening to the rain tapping the window, and wondered if I was making a mistake letting her back in. I kept remembering that day at the door, her back turned, her silence. Yet every morning, I saw her trying. She helped with dishes, washed clothes, walked Grace to school. It was like watching someone rebuild a bridge they once burned. Still, there was a distance between us, a quiet wall of unspoken things. For a few weeks, life settled into a quiet rhythm again. Emily helped around the house, and Grace adored her. The sound of laughter returned to my kitchen, a sound I hadn't heard in years. But sometimes, when Emily thought I wasn't watching, I would catch her staring at nothing, her eyes distant, lost in thought. Something was wrong. I could feel it. One night, after I put Grace to bed, I found Emily sitting on the porch, staring at the stars. A cup of tea sat untouched beside her. I sat next to her quietly. She didn't look at me. After a long pause, she said softly, "Evie, there's something I need to tell you." Her voice trembled in a way that made my chest tighten. I waited. "I didn't just lose my job," she whispered. "I'm sick." I turned to her sharply. "Sick? What do you mean?" She took a deep breath and looked at me, eyes full of tears. I have cancer. It's late, too late. For a moment, everything stopped. The night sounds faded, and I could only hear my heartbeat echoing in my ears. I whispered, "No, no, that can't be." She nodded slowly. "The doctors said there's nothing they can do now. I wanted to tell you sooner, but I was afraid you wouldn't let me stay. I didn't come here to die, Evie. I came here because I wanted to be near you, one last time." Her words broke me. I covered my mouth, tears spilling down my cheeks. I reached for her hand, thin, cold, trembling. "Oh, Emily," I whispered. She leaned her head on my shoulder and cried quietly, the same way we cried together as little girls after Mama died. That night, we didn't talk much more. We just sat there, the sisters who had lost so much, finally facing the truth neither of us wanted to face. The days that followed were heavy. Emily tried to act normal. She still cooked, helped Grace with homework, and smiled when neighbors visited. But I could see her strength fading each day. Sometimes, she'd sit in Mama's old rocking chair and hum softly, the same tune Mama used to sing while folding laundry. It made my heart ache. Grace, too young to understand, would ask, "Why does Aunt Emily sleep so much?" I'd just smile and say, "She's resting, sweetheart. She's been through a lot." Inside, I was breaking. One afternoon, as I helped Emily to her bed, she grabbed my hand and said, "Evie, there's another thing I need to tell you." I froze. "What is it?" She hesitated, tears gathering in her eyes. "Do you remember when you were pregnant, and I left? When I told you I couldn't stay?" My throat tightened. "Yes." Her lips trembled. "It wasn't because I didn't care. It was because I was scared." Scared of what? Of what people said. Of how they looked at us, two poor sisters with no one to help. The man I was with then, he told me, "You were a burden." He said if I wanted a better life, I had to cut you off. And, God forgive me, I listened. She looked away, shame washing over her face. I told myself I'd come back for you once I had money. But life doesn't work that way. Once you choose selfishness, it eats you from the inside. I lost everything, Evie, not just my job, not just my health. I lost my soul somewhere along the way. I sat there quietly, feeling years of anger and sadness swirl inside me. Finally, I whispered, "You hurt me, Emily. You really did. But right now, none of that matters. You're my sister." She looked up, shocked. "You're not angry?" I took a deep breath. "I am. But I'm also tired of carrying it. I think we've both suffered enough." Tears streamed down her face as she reached for my hand. "I don't deserve your kindness." "Maybe not," I said gently. "But love doesn't keep score." That night, as she slept, I sat by her bedside, holding her hand. I watched her chest rise and fall and thought about all the years we'd lost. And for the first time in a long while, I prayed, not for miracles, not for time, but for peace. The months passed quietly after that. I took care of Emily the best I could. Some days were good, we'd sit outside, sip tea, and laugh about old times. Other days were harder, filled with pain, medicine, and silence. Grace grew close to her aunt. She would bring her drawings, sing for her, and brush her hair. Sometimes, I'd catch Emily watching Grace with tears in her eyes. "She's beautiful," Emily would whisper. "She's everything good you ever were." One afternoon, she asked me to bring her an old wooden box from her bag. Inside was a letter, folded neatly, sealed with a ribbon. She handed it to me. "Don't open it yet," she said. "Read it when I'm gone." I shook my head, tears welling up. "Don't say that." She smiled weakly. "Evie, I've made peace. It's okay." The day came quietly, a cloudy morning, with light rain falling against the windows. I went to check on Emily, and she was lying still, her face calm, a faint smile resting on her lips. Her hand was cold in mine. For a long time, I just sat beside her, tears rolling down my cheeks, whispering, "I forgive you. I love you." Grace came in quietly and hugged me. "Is Aunt Emily sleeping?" she asked. We buried Emily beside Mama and Daddy, under the old oak tree near the church. The whole town came. Some remembered her as a bright young girl who dreamed big. Others just came to stand with me, in silence. After everyone left, I stayed. The wind moved gently through the branches. I whispered, "You came home, Em. That's all that matters." A few days later, I remembered the letter. It took me hours to find the courage to open it. Her handwriting was shaky but still hers. "My dearest Evie, if you're reading this, I'm finally at peace. I don't have much to leave behind, but I've made one last choice, one I hope will help you. Years ago, I had a small insurance policy from work. It's not much, but I named you and Grace as the beneficiaries. I want you to use it to make life easier, maybe fix the house, maybe send Grace to a good school. I owe you far more than money could ever repay, but it's the only way I can say thank you for loving me when I didn't deserve it. You taught me what family really means. Love, Emily." I pressed the letter to my chest and cried, not out of grief this time, but out of gratitude. Even after all that pain, she had found a way to give me peace. Years have passed since then. Grace is grown now, a teacher with a kind heart, just like her father. She still keeps Aunt Emily's photo on her desk. Sometimes, on quiet evenings, I sit on the porch, the same place Emily once sat under the stars, and I think about forgiveness. It's not something that comes easily. It's not about pretending the hurt didn't happen. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of it, choosing peace over bitterness. I often tell people that forgiveness is like planting a seed in dry soil. You don't see growth right away. But one day, without realizing it, you'll find something beautiful blooming where pain once lived. If I had held on to anger, I would have lost those last precious months with my sister. I would have missed her laughter, her stories, her final gift of love. Instead, I chose to let go. And because of that choice, I found healing. Sometimes, Grace asks me, "Mama, do you miss Aunt Emily?" I smile. Every day. But when the wind moves through the trees, I feel like she's here, reminding me that love always finds its way home. So to anyone listening who's holding on to pain, I want to say this. If someone hurt you, and they're truly sorry, it's okay to forgive. Not for them, but for your own heart. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing peace, even when your heart still remembers the hurt. Thank you for listening to my story. I'm Grandma Evelyn, and this was the story of my sister, Emily, the one who taught me that love, even when broken, can still heal. If my story touched your heart, please subscribe, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Maybe you have your own story of forgiveness. I'd love to hear it.